How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
It's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late-night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
All right, let's get to it.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back.
We have one sick duckling over here.
Yes, been sick for the last 2 weeks and still am sick, but it is what it is.
Just gotta keep punching on, right?
Exactly right.
Producing the goods for you guys, as always.
Yes. Something that came off the previous topic that we had spoke about, and that was redundancy, which led to us talking about challenging ourselves. And it was something that we were talking about, and I had some questions to you.
Like off the mic, right?
Off the mic, that was. And obviously I had options at the time about what jobs that were offered to me and other jobs that were sort of outside my comfort zone. So that discussion I had with you.
That were offered to you as well? Or?
That was offered to me as well. And obviously some roles that I was very uncomfortable with outside of my normal zone of my expertise. And obviously there were other roles that were offered that, you know, I could close my eyes and fucking do it.
Close some deals with your eyes closed.
Pretty much. But it was something that I did have a lot of conversation with you off mic.
Yeah. And like that's what we were discussing, is like weighing the pros and cons and then knowing your direction, and also is this challenge going to be a good challenge for you to go through and push yourself through? Because if you don't go through the challenges, you don't know the extent of how far you can go and what your capabilities are if you don't go for it. But obviously you got to weigh it out, because if it's a challenge that leads you into a direction that you're not willing to go into in terms of career, then it's not really worth it. So we were just weighing out that, and I was mainly just talking to you about like why you should challenge yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And after the discussions that we had off mic, it really brought, I guess, a better understanding as to why, you know, we need to put ourselves out to challenge ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And that's to better ourselves in some way or form. And without actually doing it, you're not going to know if we're good at it or not.
Yeah, and then if you ever forever stay in a comfort zone that you know, one, you get so competent that you get bored of it, and two, like you just won't know what you're capable of outside of this thing that you already know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so like we were watching this thing from Paul Bloom, and he made this topic, and he was talking around why you should want to suffer, which is also why we wanted to talk about this topic, because it's such an interesting topic. When you hear suffering, like what would you think?
Well, it's a negative connotation, right? So it's bad when you hear, oh, you're suffering. Like,
yeah, if you think of putting yourself through a suffering event, you think of something where you're either traumatizing yourself or you're getting
hurt or something like that.
Yeah, which what he described was really interesting. So he puts, he categorizes the suffering into two different types. So there's the unchosen and the chosen. Right,
yeah. And the unchosen is situations or scenarios where it's like you had a child pass away in your life, or you lost your job, or your house burns down.
Yeah, these are things that you can't really control.
Yep.
So that's why it's unchosen. But there's also chosen types of suffering, which is what we are going to talk about, which is more challenging yourself. You choose to challenge yourself, and you choose to put your brain through a suffering event because you're growing out of something that it's used to. So that's why we would say that the chosen suffering is challenges. And that also relates to comfort zone. So comfort zone,
I found this interesting definition. It's called Positive Psychology. It's a website.
Yeah, because we just wanted to get an understanding of the difference between challenges and comfort zone. Because we were debating behind, like, off the mics, like, saying that challenges is actually not something that you can categorize on the same line as comfort zone. Like, challenge is an action that you need to do to move yourself out of a comfort zone.
Yep.
Whereas comfort zone is sort of like an area that you stay in.
Yeah. With this study, this particular person defined the definition as: the comfort zone is a behavioral state within which a person operates in an anxiety neutral condition, using limited set of behaviors to deliver a steady level of performance, usually without a sense of risk.
Yeah, which is quite true. So if you're staying in your comfort zone, there's not much risk there because you know the area, you know what's going to happen, you know what you need to do. So to push yourself out of that, you need to challenge it. And with challenges, there may be risks, like it may not work out. But that kind of leads back to one of our topics that we're talking about, is like why people are scared of rejection. It's like you should just do it anyway because you won't know the answer until you do it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just about putting yourself out and really just giving it a go, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then just pointing it back to Paul Bloom, he was just saying, like, if everything happened exactly the way you wanted, like say you ended up in a place where everyone just listened to whatever you wanted, your wishes are always granted, life was the way you wanted, exactly the way it wanted to be, and it happened every single day. If you think about it, would you get bored of it?
I reckon you definitely would, because you're living in a perfect world, right?
Yeah, then you kind of autopilot your mind, like you don't even need to do anything. And eventually, what Paul Bloom was saying, like your subconscious mind or the human brain would want to start to create challenges for yourself because they just essentially get bored. So to create challenges is to put yourself out of that and create the suffering for your brain so that it has something to do.
Yeah, and it is a good point because I'm sure there is a small minority of a group that would prefer to have that kind of lifestyle, like a perfect, nothing goes wrong, just live your day by day.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah, smooth sailing. I'm sure there's people that like that, but there are obviously other groups of people who want that challenge, who want to live day by day by doing something totally different. And to have, different scenarios and different things and events that happen in their life, which keeps them moving, keeps their brain sort of functioning. And
yeah, but I feel like if you don't challenge yourself or you don't put yourself in challenging positions, you don't give yourself a purpose in life, and there's not much meaning because, again, you're autopiloting. So it's like there's nothing you're doing that's different, or you're trying to grow yourself.
Yeah, and that's something that I always used to say, I have been saying in the previous episodes, is experience in life is always going to give you that purpose and meaning, and that gives you the experience in life to really just know and understand what happens day by day. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's a positive thing, whether it's a negative thing, all these are a part of challenging in some form, right?
Yeah, and then back to that study that I was saying, so there's comfort zone and there's growing zone. So the action to move between that is to challenge yourself. So when you challenge yourself, you're able to move into a growing zone. And a good example of that is, when teenagers, after they've graduated high school, they start to move out and then they go into their own home. That's when they start to learn how to work, find their own job, start to cook for themselves, start to pay for their own bills. Like, that's a good example of how they grow. They start to move into grow zone, because if they stay at home, like I know for Asians, we do stay at home, and technically the parents won't let us move out, but that's a comfort zone because you know that you can always come home, your parents will always be there for you, you've got people that will put food on the table for you, and you've got people around. But when you move out, then you get to learn how to live alone or live with someone else that you don't even know, how to start to work and have to manage your money if you need to pay bills, things like that.
Yeah, 100%. And that does allude to a very important part in life too. Even for me, when I finished high school, it was like I wasn't allowed to move out, like in terms of the whole family culture thing. Like, I was at home all the time, but outside of the home situation, it's like you're now in reality, and you're going to college or you're going to uni or you're working full time, And that's a really big smack in the face for a young teenager. Because you're so used to going to school, you're so used to having parents pay this and that sort of stuff. It's like now it's forcing you to really understand what the purpose of life is and what you have to do as an individual to grow.
Yeah, I think another good example, just leading off the uni thing. So because we're from school, you go to school from 9 to 3 o'clock every single day, Monday to Friday. And then when you go to uni, essentially you have all the time in the world. So technically you can do that thing where you can do all the things that you want and do anything that you want. But as you keep doing that, you realize you're not really learning anything because you're too busy having fun. So you start to want to have some structure or challenge yourself to be disciplined and actually go to uni or do your uni assignments or find a job, like those kind of things. That's a challenge for people who are going through that stage in life.
Yeah, of course. And it reminds me of me, like when I think of myself back then, like you said, when you come out of school, you got that structure, whether you're starting from 8:30 to 3 or 9 to 3 or whatever it is, and then you're going into university, you have to force yourself to time manage.
Yeah,
that's
so
a huge
it's the
thing.
discipline. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
You got to discipline yourself.
Discipline yourself to really manage your time, structure how you're going to make some money, fucking go and play some, have a good time, but at the same time, still focus on where you want to really align yourself to grow.
Yeah. And another example, I think one that people could relate to is like dieting, eating clean, trying to get lean. And if they're just forever comfortable staying at home and don't want to sign up to a gym because it's uncomfortable for them, but the challenge is that you need to challenge yourself to get out there, get to know people, get yourself to the gym. That's the challenge. Like you need to do that to be able to start getting fit, getting healthy. And again, you need to build a discipline by, you may like to eat out all the time, but start to discipline yourself and create a structure so that you know like how to manage yourself in terms of getting to your goals.
And it's just an action in life in general, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a particular discipline that you're trying to learn, a skill set, that's all a challenge, you know what I mean? Like if you actually think about it from a holistic point of view, it actually really makes sense that you need to put yourself in those situations.
Yeah, and like why do you think people change jobs over a few years? Because they get comfortable, they know what they're doing, they're good at what they're doing, and now they want to challenge themselves to do even better. They want to see what it's like to work in the next role or in a different role or even a completely different industry. And that's all part of a suffering because you're moving your brain or what you're used to outside of that zone, and now you challenge yourself with something different, and that's the only way you can grow.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because what I've noticed in the banking and finance industry is the younger guys generally don't stay in their roles for X amount of time, whereas the older generation seem to be more long-term. And what I mean by that is like they've been in that particular role for 5 to 10 years or even sometimes more than that. And the younger guys are normally 1 or 2 years and then they're off to the next one.
Yeah, but that's also a traditional thing. Like back then, it's also a stability thing, again, a comfort zone, because they know that this job is what's going to keep them stable. And if they I'm talking about the older generations, if they move out of that, they don't know what potentially would happen and it might affect their family and all that kind of stuff. Whereas now people are more open to change, which is a good thing. Like the younger generation that's coming in, they're open to change and they know that even if they change roles, it may or may not work, but potentially, what if it does work?
100%. And you're not going to know until you actually do it, right?
Yeah. So another thing of why I agree with Paul Bloom that you should want to have suffering or you should want to suffer, but the chosen type of suffering and challenges is that it allows you to be grateful. Because one really good example I did mention a while back is I have my facial skin has always been I've never really had a lot of pimples or acne. Within this year, it's really noticeable that either I have adult acne or something that's happened. I don't even know what it is because I've been to a few skin clinics and no one could figure out what it is. But seeing that, that's a type of suffering. Like, obviously, I didn't choose that, but I am going through something. When I see, like, this is really weird, but if I see parts of my face where my skin actually is still really smooth, still really clear, I'm appreciating that part. It makes you appreciate what you have or what you had, so that you don't just go your day or go through your life without feeling grateful.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like you obviously you have something that's affecting you now, right? But in the past, or even currently, some parts of your face, it's making you realize, oh, well, shit.
It's just finding the things, the small things in life or whatever that situation is, and being grateful for it.
And like for me, I don't know specifically what I would appreciate in terms of a challenge.
Well, I guess going back to your work thing, you now starting this role, which is completely out of your comfort zone, but it's not about being grateful, but now you understand, like, it's different things. Challenges makes you understand different things, like either you're being grateful or you see your strengths, which is what you saw your strengths, and now you know what you can use to apply to help with your new role, and other things is helping you grow. Like, challenges can put you in different states where there's different things that you can appreciate.
Yeah, that is true. And I think if you asked me this question during that time of my redundancy, I would have been like, fuck, I don't even know what the fuck I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because I'd be probably more inclined to stay more closer to my comfort zone or that area that I know that I'm really good at. But to think about it from back then to now, it's like, well, yeah, now I appreciate the fact that I've sort of transitioned, because now it's opened my eyes to see what this particular side of the industry has to offer.
Yeah, and how I think is, even though you've put yourself through a challenge, it doesn't mean that you have to succeed in it, right? Even if you didn't succeed, now you have a new benchmark where you're like, okay, I can reach this point, which is more than what I've already been able to do. Say, this new challenge, I thought, my mindset was that I can reach a level 2. But you're going through this challenge, you can actually reach level 5, but you didn't succeed in it, but you still push further than level 2. And you're like, okay. So then you take on another challenge, and then you just keep growing from your experiences every time and apply all the things that you realize that you did wrong and how you can do better the next time. Same thing as if, say, for me at the moment, I want to put myself in a challenge where I want to do a Muay Thai fight. And in my mind, I've never thought that, yes, I'm going to win. It's like the challenge is that I want to push myself out there to see how far I can push myself in terms of endurance, in terms of fitness, in terms of strength, and just being able to do a fight. And even if I don't win, I can learn from that and be like, what mistakes did I do? What things I didn't do good at? Like, and how can I improve on that? And then you do it again, and maybe you can do even better next time.
Which brings that is a real strong statement in terms of how you think, and and that's applicable to different scenarios.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's like for me, like gym or even Muay Thai too, like, the challenge for me is finding the time to actually do it. You know what I mean? Like, to balance that with the work as well as to actually commit and go and do it. Exactly how you're thinking. It's challenging your mind, challenging your body, and challenging yourself to really push yourself in that, or put yourself in that situation where you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If I fail, it doesn't matter. If I win, great.
I see it as long as you've made progress, that's a win. Whether or not the end goal of whatever you set yourself, if you've won or not, or if you've succeeded or not, if you've made progress from where you were before to where you are now, that's a win.
Yep. And that's, yeah.
And that's what I was telling you about your job, because your new job had really high KPIs, right? And you're like, wow, I've never had something this high. And I'm like, even if you went for it and you didn't actually hit that KPI within a year, within whatever KPIs that they set for you, as long as you've actually tried your best, you put your 150% in, you've done everything that you can, and you've learned from it, that's a win. So that's what I was telling you about your redundancy thing. So yeah, like I really agree, and I really like this topic because I think a lot of people pull themselves back in terms of going out of their comfort zone and challenging themselves is because they're scared of the failure. But it's not about the failures. I think what if you succeeded? What if you actually learned something new? And what if you've actually progressed? Like, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, or you succeeded or you failed. That's the biggest thing, that you need to change your mind to think.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes you need to struggle to really understand what growth is required for you, because you as an individual, everyone's different, you know what I mean? Like, you need to put yourself out there, to challenge yourself, to know what do you truly enjoy doing in life, but also what do you need to do to do better as a person.
I wanted to bring it back. So I know that we're specifically talking about the chosen suffering and the chosen challenges, but seeing as you lost your job, right, the redundancy, that was an unchosen suffering. But one thing that you can bring out of it that you can be grateful for is the network that you created, right? Because you had to lean on your network to find a new job. So that's something that came out of this challenge that you could actually appreciate.
Yeah, when you put it in that perspective, yeah, it 100%. Grateful for the relationships and the network that I've built within that role, if you want to put it that. And without being there, I probably wouldn't have had that relationship that I could basically lean on.
Yeah.
So what you made is a really important.
Yeah, so I think it's such a big thing. I think everyone should try and challenge themselves, obviously with calculated risk, like not something where you just throw yourself and jump off a bridge or something. Be like, I'm going to survive this, like that kind of stuff. Like calculated risk, and get yourself out of that comfort zone and see how far you have come from where you started.
Definitely push yourself out there.
Let us know, what is a challenge that you've always wanted to partake in, and have you taken it? Or if you haven't, let us know what's holding you back. We want to know.
Yeah, definitely want to know. Yeah. But if you've got any topic requests, please slide into our DMs. Let us know. We're open and wanting to know what you guys want to hear from us. Please jump on our socials and follow us. Otherwise, have a great day.
And bye.
Bye. Thank you so much if you have reached to the end. We really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Bigger. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's AskTheDuo Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye.
See ya.